Okay, is anyone else getting major deja vu?
Hmm.
It feels like John McAfee is like never out of the news.
Even posthumously, yeah.
Right. So today's deep dive is into his, well, let's call it his digital afterlife. The cybersecurity guy turned crypto.
Mm.
What was he? Like a wild man.
I think that's putting it mildly.
Yeah, McAfee's life story could be like a whole Netflix series, honestly. Genius, scammer, both.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't think anyone really knows.
The thing that got us down this rabbit hole is this new AI token. It just launched, and it's using his name.
And it's raising all sorts of questions.
Exactly. That's why we're here, to unpack it all. So for anyone who maybe needs a refresher, McAfee made his first fortune, a big fortune, from that antivirus software.
The one everyone and their grandma had on their computer.
Yeah, back in the day. But then around 2016, he basically just dives headfirst into this whole blockchain and crypto thing.
Which, when you think about it, is kind of wild. He was already a multimillionaire.
Right. He didn't need to chase the next big thing.
But I think that was just part of his personality, that restless energy.
So it wasn't about the money then.
Well, money was probably part of it, but from the research you sent me, it seems like he actually believed in the tech, the potential of blockchain.
To like change the world.
Yeah, I mean, he saw it as this revolutionary force for cybersecurity, for freedom.
And this was before Bitcoin was like, on everyone's radar.
Exactly. He was talking about decentralization and digital freedom before most people even knew what those words meant.
Okay, so for our listeners who might not be, deep in the crypto world, what are we even talking about here? What is an ICO?
An ICO, or initial coin offering, is basically a way for these new crypto projects to raise money. It's like an IPO, but for crypto.
And then there's this thing called a DEX.
Yeah, a DX, or decentralized exchange. It's a platform where you can trade cryptocurrencies, but without a central authority controlling everything. Like, think of a stock exchange, but without the stock exchange part.
Got it. Okay, so McAfee is all in on this. But he's not just, like, quietly investing.
Mhm.
He becomes this whole character.
Oh yeah, he went all in on the persona, making these huge predictions about Bitcoin, saying it was going to reach these insane prices.
He even bet, what was it, $500,000 by 2020?
And said he'd eat. Well, let's just say a very specific part of his anatomy if he was wrong.
Which he later backtracked on that whole thing, right?
He did, but the point is he knew how to get people's attention. And it worked. But his pronouncements definitely had an impact on the market, raised concerns about market manipulation.
Especially for people new to crypto, they might have taken his word as gospel.
Absolutely. It's a lot of power to wield, and there's always the question of, was he being responsible with that influence?
Right, right. So he's this master of grabbing the spotlight, no doubt. But there's this other side to McAfee, and that's where things get a little messy.
Understatement. He was charging like $105,000 per tweet to promote ICOs.
$105,000 just for a tweet.
Yep. Even in the crazy world of crypto, that's a lot. His team even put out a guide, like a how-to manual for this whole scheme.
So it wasn't even a secret.
Nope, it was all out in the open. But did these projects deliver? That's a whole other question.
Were people making money off these things he was promoting?
Some did, some lost a ton. It was a gamble. And then the SEC came after him, accusing him of running these pump and dump schemes.
Pump and dump. So like inflating the price just to make a quick buck and then bailing.
Exactly. And all of this is happening while he's dealing with other legal issues, don't forget.
Oh yeah, the whole Belize thing.
Yeah, fleeing the country, living on a yacht. It sounds like something out of a movie.
It does. He was a
Lot.
suspect in his neighbor's death.
Which he always denied, of course.
Yeah.
But he ended up paying a $25 million settlement in a wrongful death suit.
So even though he was technically a fugitive, he's still launching these crypto projects.
Oh yeah, like this privacy coin called Ghost. Which, knowing McAfee, that name was probably no coincidence.
He was always pushing the limits, wasn't he? Both with the tech and with the law. It's almost like he was running from something. Maybe the authorities, maybe boredom.
Or maybe both. It's hard to say. But then it gets even weirder. He's on the run, and then he decides to run for U.S. president.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. Not because he actually thought he could win, but he saw it as a platform to talk about his ideas. Personal freedom, the power of cryptocurrency.
So another publicity stunt?
Maybe, but there's also this thread of consistency if you look at his career. He was always focused on privacy, individual liberty.
Challenging the system.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, he was ahead of his time. But then it all catches up to him, right?
Arrested in Spain in 2020, tax evasion charges.
And the SEC finally files that complaint about the pump and dump schemes. Then he dies in prison.
while awaiting extradition.
Yeah, it's still shrouded in mystery. Conspiracy theories, accusations of foul play.
Like the scriptwriters of his life decided to throw in a twist ending just for fun.
And just when you think the story's over, here comes the AI token.
This is where it really gets interesting. This AI token, it claims to be like an AI version of McAfee.
And it's being marketed in this way that sounds exactly like him.
Yeah, I was reading some of the website copy. A string of defiance wrapped in cryptographic brilliance.
Classic McAfee.
Right, sticking it to the establishment. It's like they captured his voice.
It's brilliant marketing, even if it's a little unsettling.
It's definitely working. People are talking about it, which is exactly what McAfee was always a master of doing,
Making people pay attention.
whether they wanted to or not.
It makes you wonder, though, is this legit? Or is someone just trying to cash in on his name, on all the controversy?
Because even in death, McAfee is still generating headlines, which, knowing him, he'd probably love.
I'm sure he would. But it raises all these ethical questions, doesn't it? Like, can you just launch an AI project in the name of someone who's gone, who can't even give their consent?
Especially with a past like his.
Yeah, it's definitely a gray area. I mean, on the one hand, you could argue that it's keeping his legacy alive, in a way.
Yeah, letting people interact with this digital version of him.
But on the other hand, it feels a little exploitative, using his name, his likeness, to make money without his permission.
And what about Janice McAfee? Where does she fit into all of this? His widow. She's been through a lot since his death, even launching her own meme coin, which, I don't know, some people thought was a bit much.
Yeah, there were definitely mixed reactions to that, but she's also been very vocal about, the circumstances surrounding his death, the lack of transparency.
She claims she wasn't even allowed to see the autopsy report.
Exactly, so it's messy, and this AI token launch just makes everything even more complicated.
Okay, so let's shift gears for a minute and talk about the tech. What can you tell us about the AI behind this token? How does it even work?
From what you shared, it looks like they're using natural language processing and machine learning to basically create an AI that can mimic McAfee's writing style, his personality.
They fed the AI all of his writings, his interviews, even his social media posts.
Everything they could get their hands on. It's like they're trying to create a digital ghost of John McAfee.
One that can, interact with people, generate new content.
Exactly. And it's not just about, recreating his personality. They're also building in his ideas about cybersecurity, crypto, personal freedom.
It's all very futuristic, but also kind of creepy.
Yeah, I get that. And it brings up some big questions about the future of AI, its impact. Are we heading toward a world where anyone can be digitally resurrected?
What does that even mean for privacy, for authenticity? What does it mean to be human in a world like that?
These are questions philosophers have been debating forever, but now it feels like they're becoming very real, very urgent.
Because the technology is moving faster than our ability to even understand it, let alone regulate it.
The McAfee AI token is just one example, but it's a sign of things to come.
So where does this leave us? We've got this larger-than-life figure, John McAfee, built an empire on cybersecurity, then goes on this wild ride through the crypto world, breaking all the rules.
Hushing boundaries, courting controversy, and now, even in death, he's still managing to disrupt things, provoke people.
It's like he's a character in a story that just keeps getting more and more bizarre.
A story that's full of contradictions, just like McAfee himself. Brilliant innovator, master self-promoter, a fugitive,
A presidential candidate.
and ultimately a tragic figure.
And now, with AI, he's become something else entirely. A digital ghost, a voice from beyond the grave. It makes you question the whole idea of identity, of legacy.
In the digital age. And it all circles back to this token, this AI. Is it a continuation of his story, a cynical cash grab, or is it something else? Something we don't even have the words for yet.
I don't think there's an easy answer, but
Yeah.
this deep dive has definitely given us a lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Like, what happens to our digital legacies after we're gone?
Who controls our online narratives?
Exactly. And how do we navigate this world where what's real and what's virtual is becoming more and more blurred?
The McAfee AI token, it's just one example, but it's a pretty powerful one.
It shows us that the digital world, it's not some separate thing anymore. It's intertwined with our lives in ways we're just starting to understand.
And with the rise of AI, those lines are going to get even blurrier.
It's both exciting and terrifying. We're entering uncharted territory, and we need to be prepared for the implications.
This whole deep dive has been quite a journey. We started with an AI token launch and ended up exploring some of the biggest questions facing humanity.
That's the thing about these deep dives. You never know where they'll lead you, which is what makes them so fascinating.
And sometimes those threads of curiosity lead us to some pretty unexpected places, which is exactly where John McAfee seemed to thrive.
He was a master of disruption, a walking contradiction.
And a constant reminder that the future is always full of surprises.
He was definitely a force of nature, for better or worse. And while he might be gone, his legacy continues to have this ripple effect. Who knows what other surprises he has in store, even from beyond the grave.
I have a feeling this isn't the last we've heard from John McAfee, or at least from his digital ghost. It really does feel like, I don't know, we're in some kind of science fiction story. But it's actually happening.
And McAfee is that character who just keeps popping up, like out of nowhere.
Right. Pushing the story forward, always one step ahead.
Whether it's cybersecurity, crypto, even politics, he was a disruptor.
In this AI token, it's like his final act of disruption, even though he's,
Not here to see it play out, which is kind of ironic.
It's making people think, talk, debate. It's generating headlines. Isn't that exactly what McAfee would have wanted?
It's hard to say for sure, but it definitely fits with his love of pushing boundaries,
Yeah.
challenging the status quo.
So if we zoom out a little, what does this whole story tell us about the world we're living in?
I think it shows that the digital world isn't this separate thing anymore.
It's part of us.
Yeah, it's deeply connected to our real lives, our identities, our legacies even.
Yeah.
And it's raising all these questions, ethical questions, philosophical questions.
We don't really have answers to.
Like, who owns our digital identities?
Right. Who gets to control our online narrative after we're gone?
And how do we deal with this world where reality and virtuality are kind of blending together? The McAfee AI token is just one example, but it's a sign of what's to come, I think.
It's a reminder that technology, it's not neutral. It's a tool. And it can be used for good or for bad.
For liberation or control.
And it's up to us to decide how we use it, individually and as a society.
We need to be having these conversations now before it's too late, before the technology gets so far ahead of us that we lose control.
It's not about being afraid of technology. It's about being informed, engaged.
Understanding the risks, the rewards.
Yeah.
And making conscious choices.
About how we integrate these technologies into our lives.
We need to be critical thinkers, not just passive consumers.
Question everything, challenge the narratives.
Hold those in power accountable.
Because the future, it's not something that just happens to us. We create it.
The McAfee story, it's a good reminder of that, I think, as strange as it is.
Yeah, the digital world, it's not a playground. It reflects our values, our choices.
Our humanity. And it's up to us to make sure it reflects the best of who we are, not the worst.
I think that's a perfect place to end this deep dive. Thanks for going down this rabbit hole with me.
It's been quite a ride.
Just like McAfee's life itself. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us. We hope this deep dive gave you some things to think about. Keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep those digital footprints mindful.
We'll see you next time.